Pelosi.
Piers, you just can't keep saying, like, I get it. You want to keep the show moving in the direction you want to, but this looks terrible. It looks terrible. He says, I'm going to make it better. I'm going to give us so many jobs. There are going to be so many jobs that people won't know what to do because there's so many jobs. I'm going to give Wisconsin $3 billion, and they're going to have $3 billion. Like, stop, bro. You know what I'm saying? Drop a like, leave a comment, let me know you're in here. We finna have fun tonight. We're down back with a follow-up to the Destiny appearance on Piers Morgan. Piers has been giving us some great content, I must say. So it's a little follow-up. It's not with Destiny, but Mehdi Hassan, another political commentator, I believe. I'm not too familiar with him or anything, but from what I've seen and heard, this is a pretty spirited back and forth that's quite entertaining, and we love to be entertained over here, despite how much y'all see people getting their feelings, and it ain't me. Let's see what happens with the follow-up to the Destiny appearance.
This is now the Republicans' election to surely lose. All Trump has to do is carry the vase carefully across a shiny floor. Attention should now rightly turn to whether Trump can really become a unifier should he win again, and how he'll govern the country. And there are plenty of questions to answer about that. In a moment, when we meet tonight's panel, but joining me now is the editor-in-chief and CEO of Zeteo, Mehdi Hassan. Mehdi, great to have you back on Uncensored. First of all, your reaction to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump.
Well, first of all, Piers, thanks for having me back on, and I enjoyed your Roy Jenkins line there about carrying the vase across the floor. Let's see if Trump can do that. The assassination, that was horrific. I remember hearing the news on Saturday. I was stunned. And I'm absolutely like you. I agree that if he had been killed, all hell would have broken loose, as you said earlier on the show. I totally agree with that. And I'm glad he wasn't killed because, number one, unlike Donald Trump, I don't wish death upon my political opponents. And number two, obviously, it's fundamentally immoral and illegal to try and kill your political opponent. I would rather see Donald Trump convicted in court and or defeated at the ballot box. So I'm very glad that he did not die on Saturday.
You know,
very fair. Very fair.
I interviewed Destiny yesterday, who has a big following online, and I tried to get him just to condemn what this shooter attempted to do. And this is what he said. I'm asking you to condemn what happened as an egregious attack on democracy. Can you do that?
No, I won't. No, I won't.
You can't do that. You see, so why the hell, frankly, Destiny, why the hell should we listen to a word you have to say? I found that pretty startling, actually, and very indicative of what I've sensed about politics in America, in Britain, in other countries as well, that since the advent of social media in particular, fueling this kind of toxic tribal nature of discourse, that if you can't condemn a 20-year-old with an AR-15 trying to blow the brains out of a president, whoever it is, whichever side that president comes from,
I think Piers knows what he's doing because it's obvious that Destiny wasn't doing it solely because of how he feels about it. Whether you agree or disagree is one thing, but to say, but you can't condemn, it's like he said, not in front of these people, not on this platform. That's just really a way to say, like, I would, but I'm not granting you that just because off of that. Like I said, it's weird because it's kind of like, if you feel bad for the family, you can say that. I just think that might open people's ears up a little bit more to be receptive of your overall point if you do that. But since he won't do it, it's just nobody gives a fuck about what he says. But again, like, Destiny don't care about optics. He doesn't care about being mainstream at all. So he doesn't feel like he's losing anything by holding this ground. And it's working in some sense, but it's mostly just people that kind of already agree with his politics. So, and they're being a little bit vocal with supporting him a little, but overall, nobody really, I don't think anybody 100% backs Destiny's approach to this because it just seems like it's not doing the change that he might think it could.
In the same way, and I'm not going to go over this with you today because I want to stick on to the Trump story, but it's why I always ask people in the Israel-Hamas war debate, did you condemn what happened on October the 7th? Because frankly, it's quite illuminating if people can't condemn horror when they see it. I'm not comparing the...
That's interesting because lately I haven't seen him ask any conservatives, do you disavow or condemn what happened January 6th?
And I don't want you to respond to that part of it. But what I do want to just get your reaction to is, do you share my discomfort that people have got so entrenched into their side now, so entrenched that they just simply can't see the wood for the trees and say something which is vaguely humane?
He's not doing that. His side doesn't agree with him. His stance is not about a side. He says liberals have been cucking out to conservatives for a long time, like, oh, we're sorry, this shouldn't happen, and blah, 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 like, for incidents. And you can argue that there's some liberals that make jokes when things happen to people on the right, too. I think that does happen. I think the main difference is political pundits and the actual president of the United States have openly, like, made jokes about bad things that happen to people that's regarding liberals or people on the left. Like, they'll openly do that. The people that do it on the left to people on the right is usually just people on Twitter or on TikTok or something. They don't have a voice like actual politicians or actual political pundits.
Look, that is a very fair point. I'm not a fan of Destiny, but let me just put some of what he was saying in context because I watched that discussion. I think the point he was trying to make, and I think he did it badly, is that there is a double standard here. That as with the Palestine-Israel debate...
Now, Piers, are you going to be receptive to him? Because he's probably going to say the same stuff Destiny said, and he's condemning the shooter. So are you going to listen to him or are you going to argue with him? Let's see.
You tend to only ask Palestinians to condemn and not Israelis. Journalists, not just yourself, tend to obsess over liberals condemning stuff while conservatives get a pass. And I think that is what bothers a lot of people. It certainly bothers me. And, you mentioned condemning violence, Piers. On Monday's show, you had Ben Shapiro on. I think you had Dan, the Texas Congressman Dan Crenshaw on. And you had Rudy Giuliani on, right? All three of them have at some point glorified violence, embraced violence, incited violence. Dan Crenshaw's put out videos where he's blowing stuff up, beating up left-wingers. Rudy Giuliani, as you know, Piers, on January the 6th, told an armed mob to do trial by combat. Ben Shapiro had to deny any influence on the Quebec City mosque shooter who killed 6 Muslims in January 2017. Ben Shapiro called Obama a fascist. You didn't ask any of those three people to condemn their own past. So that's, I think, what bothers Destiny, certainly bothers me. We have one party in this country, one movement that's been inciting violence for years. That's the Republic.
He's spitting right now. He's spitting and I know Piers doesn't have a response because usually Piers will cut you off if he feel like he has something to stand on. Piers does not let anybody go this long if he feels like he has something he can argue against what they said. So I find it interesting that he's not cutting him off.
Republican Party and the conservative movement. And yet one bullet is fired by a registered Republican voter on Saturday, and suddenly it's the liberals must condemn Democrats. Joe Biden sitting on TV mumbling defensively, I shouldn't have said bullseye. This is a joke. Come on, Piers.
That's funny because I really don't think Trump, I could be wrong, but I really don't think Trump would ever apologize if he said if everything was switched as far as the comment about the bullseye and the shooter being a registered liberal that shot at, a registered Democrat that shot at Joe Biden. I don't think Trump would apologize for his language. I could be wrong, but I think even Trump supporters don't see that.
You know and I know that the political violence in this country is coming from the right. The incitement's coming from the right. Donald Trump has embraced violence more than any other political candidate in my lifetime.
Let me respond to that. I look, in relation to things like January the 6th, my record speaks for itself. I wrote a number of pretty blistering columns about how appalling I found that and what a shocking attack on democracy it was and how shameful Trump's rhetoric.
See, the problem is if you're going to claim you're a centrist, though, Piers, it kind of is meaningless because you're asking people that are clearly leaning left to apologize or show sympathy or empathy to something that happened that literally has nothing to do with the left to some of the people that happened on the right, but you don't ask the right to do anything for the shit that they spew. That's the problem. So you're just like an apologist for conservatives.
Was on the day to fuel the mob.
It's not that you don't
make no
do it.
pretense of that whatsoever. On this particular occasion, I wanted to have a conversation about what happened to Donald Trump last weekend. One of the things
I think that's interesting because I understand that like Piers brings people on to talk about a given topic, and then when you start talking about other things, it's easy to get sidetracked. It's easy to get lost in the weeds. It's easy to lose time because you're not discussing the things you brought people on to discuss. But at this point, you got to recognize that clearly there's a reason that people are like, I don't want to do this. And you can even argue it about my Candace Owens video. That may be Candace's frustration. The issue with Candace is that she goes at Jewish people. So people then have to talk about, well, why are you always going at Jewish people? And then it's like, well, why are you always talking about Jewish people? I want to talk about the Christian persecution. But you're always making it seem like the Jews are a problem in your life and they have this cabal control. So people question you about it because you're wrong. And you get mad when they bring it up and then you want to bring up Christian persecution when you don't even center your platform on that. It's just kind of a weird thing to do. But Piers needs to recognize that liberals and Democrats are fed up with the double standard. For them to be having a cop to all this shit that they probably didn't play a role in.
I would count
while ignoring everything that the right has done.
To what you've just said with is, this idea that somehow the left have been completely blameless. And just to remind people, I'm not on the right.
Did he say the left is completely blameless? I don't think Mehdi said that.
This idea that somehow the left have been completely blameless. And just to remind people,
but Mehdi
I'm
never
not on
said
the right.
that.
I'm not a conservative, never have been, right? I mean, I voted for Margaret Thatcher when I was about
nigga,
18.
please.
But I've also voted for Tony Blair, and I voted for, left-wing leaders before, and I ran a Daily Mirror, which, as you know, was a left-leaning newspaper in Britain for 10 years. So this idea that I'm on the right, as some people try and paint me, is for the
If
birds.
you're not on the right, you're an apologist for them.
However, what I try and do is be fair-minded about the culpability of both sides. And I'll return the favour by criticising you, because one of my big bugbears here has been the persistent analogies and comparisons of Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. And I want to play two clips of you.
Free to say that this is approaching sort of a fascist sort of
well,
ideology.
As you say, it's not just approaching, we're beyond it, right?
Yes!
I was saying on this network in 2020, I was saying in my writing in 2019, this is authoritarianism, this is fascism. People said, calm the hell down. Everyone used to cite a guy called Robert Paxton, who's one of this country's leading historians of fascism. And he would say, Trump's not a fascist. He doesn't meet the definition of fascism. Guess what he said on January the 6th?
What?
I was wrong. He's a fascist. Even Robert Paxton comes out and says, he's a fascist, right? He's got armed militias. He's inciting violence. Now he's straight up channeling Adolf Hitler. Trump isn't hiding his authoritarian ambition
because he did
for a second term, from punishing his political opponents to locking up immigrants in camps to deploying the military, all while echoing the hateful rhetoric of Adolf Hitler.
But that's true. He used the same words.
Now, I also want to play you a mashup of a lot of other public figures talking about Trump.
Yeah, I saw it on Monday.
Let's play it again for viewers who may not have seen it.
Many are openly comparing Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Trump's been
He said many are comparing. That's not him doing it.
compared to the German dictator by some throughout his
If this is going to be a bunch of people saying that many are comparing, many are saying, are you going to get where the people actually... I'm not going to jump the gun.
campaign.
Is Donald Trump really a fascist?
Maria Chappelle-Nadal posted this picture to Twitter yesterday. It appears to compare Donald...
Sorry, that's funny. That's funny. That's funny. And if that was somebody on the left, it would still be funny.
Trump to Hitler.
Former President Trump doubles down on a phrase many say he borrowed from Hitler.
President Fantasyland decided to take a page out of Adolf Hitler's playbook last week.
Yes, Donald Trump took his Hitler cosplay to the next level.
I feel like I could be wrong. I feel like all of them probably talking about the same quote where he said he's poisoning the blood of this country or whatever. I feel like that's all they're probably talking about. And then when you pair that with some of the behavior he's engaged in.
You want to clear the air because you think you're being unfavorably compared to Donald Trump.
A unified Reich? That's Hitler's language. That's not America's.
New York's Daily News ran this front page earlier this week. Trump is Hitler.
According to the Washington Post,
yeah, that's deep.
Trump has long
that's deep. That Trump is Hitler.
Trump is
Hitler. Louis C.K. begs, don't vote for Donald. A comedian? All right. Now, that's a little unfair. He's a comedian that said it. Can you really take a comedian saying that? Like, can you really like use that as a reference? I guess if we're gonna consider comedians political commentators, I mean, I know they talk about politics, but they're still comedians first.
Is Hitler.
And it's still, they're just
According
opinions.
to the Washington Post, Trump has long toyed with the language of fascists.
Former President Donald.
It's all the same thing, but echoing Hitler's Mussolini. Yeah, Hitler. Yeah, like he literally used the same words. So it's worth noting that he literally did that. So Piers, you're concerned about people saying this Hitler stuff, but the man used the words of Hitler. I think most people will probably try to cater their language to not fucking echo a dictator that killed millions of people.
Language of fascists.
Former President Donald Trump allegedly praised Adolf Hitler, saying the Nazi leader had, quote, done some good things.
That's just something you just don't have to say. The same way Destiny doesn't need to say fuck the fireman, Trump don't need to say Hitler did some good. Like, it's just
no,
and I don't really know the context that could be in. Like, had a kid or something. I don't know. Like, what context could you use to have to say Hitler's did some good things?
That is all bullshit. Yeah. Trump is not Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler murdered 12 million people.
I think I said this in the last video. It's not about him doing the exact same thing he did from A to Z. Like, he also wasn't born in fucking Germany. Like, stop. We know that Trump is not the exact carbon copy of Hitler.
Killing 6 million Jews in a Holocaust. There is no comparison to be made between Adolf Hitler.
I wouldn't say no.
And the Nazis.
He's clearly attempting to become a dictator. Everything he's been doing is going in that direction. And for people to act like this isn't a big deal is scary. The Supreme Court has fucked. Like, the Supreme Court is not what it should be anymore. And if he becomes president again, it's only going to get worse.
Nazis and to Donald Trump. And to persistently make it, as you and many others on the left have done for years since he first ran in 20.
People on the right shouldn't even be okay with that. Because I'm not saying it will happen, but I think that type of shit is what pushes, like, violence. Like, to just completely, like, the fact that Obama never got his pick and then Trump packed it is just going, and then, you know, like, they fucking changed their vote from 6-3 to 9-0 for the presidential immunity shit. Like, that's scary. Like, that's fucking scary, and I don't even think the right should be okay with that. You should not want somebody to have that type of power, even the president.
2016, I think has been part of the problem of the political discourse in America. If you keep calling a guy Hitler, is it completely insane to think that at some point somebody's going to say, well, in that case, if he really is the new Hitler, we've got to kill him?
And do you think that guy really, that was the reason?
I mean, wouldn't you be the first to construct a moral argument?
I think it speaks volumes that somebody that was a registered Republican and whose peers consider him a very, very conservative person did that. I think that tells you a lot about what's happening on that side. I think that speaks volumes.
If somebody is literally the new Hitler right now on this planet, there is an absolute moral imperative, indeed duty, to kill that person. Otherwise, he's not the new Hitler.
Okay.
He can't be both.
Let's unpack. There's a lot there, Piers. You said a lot there and played a very long chunks. Let's respond to some of the things. First of all, you say that's all bullshit, you said, playing that clip a moment ago. That clip ended with Willie Geist of NBC reporting that Donald Trump said Hitler did some good things. How is that bullshit? That's what Donald Trump said. Why is that
if you
bullshit,
read the
Piers?
whole context of what he actually said that day, it's a deliberately misconstrued tiny part of what he said.
It's not.
It is actually.
So it's
not. John Kelly said.
Well,
hold on. You had a long question. Let me respond to you. He also said, you quoted me on MSNBC. Yeah. I was responding to Trump literally quoting lines from Mein Kampf, poisoning the blood of this country. Piers, you're not a racist, I hope. You don't agree with saying that immigrants are poisoning the blood of this country.
Do you think he is the new Hitler?
That is a Nazi line. Hold on. That is a Nazi. That's not. No. I'm responding to you. You played a clip of me. So I'm going to talk about what
And
I
it was
said.
pretty long.
I stand by the line that Donald Trump is echoing the rhetoric of Adolf Hitler.
Because
He
that's
is.
what
That's
happened.
a fact. Donald
what
Trump
happened.
praised Hitler, according to his own Republican chief of staff. That is a fact. And stop saying the left calls him Hitler. You know who called him America's Hitler? His running mate, J.D. Vance, a Republican senator, called him America's Hitler. So
You didn't play that. You didn't play that in all the quotes in the news headlines, though.
Well, he was wrong
this
too.
Is the left.
He was wrong
Republicans. Doesn't matter whether he was wrong. You're wrong to say it was the left. J.D. Vance called him. Well, no, you're wrong. You're wrong, Piers, because J.D. Vance is a Republican. He compared him to Hitler. People who have looked at what Trump and said has done, fascism experts, have said the guy is echoing fascist rhetoric. This is a guy, Piers, and I know you are the grandson of a British war hero who fought the Nazis. I know Captain Mark Oliver was a World War II hero who fought the Nazis.
Matthew
I don't
Oliver,
say this lightly when I say this. Matthew Oliver, excuse me, war hero for our country. And yet today, you're taking light of the fact that Donald Trump quotes Adolf Hitler. He praises Nazis at Charlottesville as very fine people. He hosts a Nazi Holocaust denier for dinner at his home. Did you condemn that? I mean, it's absurd. And by the way, you say you're not right-wing.
I did condemn that.
You say you're not right-wing, Piers, and yet you give your right-wing guests a pass. Ben Shapiro came on your show on Monday. You didn't ask him about calling Barack Obama a fascist. Did he incite violence against Barack Obama? Why didn't you ask Ben Shapiro? Why are you playing a clip of me on Trump, but you didn't play a clip of Shapiro?
Never
on
mind
Why?
what interviews I've done with other people. What I'm curious.
And I get it, Pierce. I understand that you got to get this interview going. You got a time limit. You got to talk about what you want to talk about. But I don't think he knows how this looks. It looks terrible. I'm not in his position, so I can't act like I would know what to do. But I just feel like if I was him running a show and I did have topics and somebody pushed me this hard on some contradictions that I may have made or some false statements or unfair treatment they're accusing me of, I don't want to let that ride. I can't just be like, well, we're not here to talk about that right now. We're here to talk. Like, you can't just accuse me of being like something I'm not, being unfair. That won't sit well with me. And it's Piers' show. I mean, I get that you got this time and topics, but bro, you're not finna accuse me of stuff that I think is untrue of myself. And at the end of the day, I guess he don't have much to lose because he's not committed by any party. I'm sure his show isn't getting paid by a specific group or anything. He's not getting any funding from anybody. This is all his shit. So he don't have much to lose. But I just think as far as your own image, you shouldn't want to be painted like that. And for you to be like, well, we're not here to talk about my other interviews, you should address that what he brought up because they're valid points.
Curious about is do you?
Well, I can't. Well, when you tell me you're not right wing,
let me ask you. Let me ask you. Let me ask you.
Liberal and left guests.
That's a fair assessment.
Right, then you're left.
Do you genuinely boloeve that Donald Trump is the new Hitler? Yes or no?
No, I don't believe he's the new Hitler. I believe he's someone who quotes Hitler. Do you believe that he should have hosted a Holocaust-denying Hitler supporter at his home for dinner?
No, I tweeted he shouldn't have done.
So then why are you giving him a pass? Why are you always praising him on your show? Why don't you start every show saying, why is a guy running for president who, come on, Piers, I've watched you for the last 3 days. You've been bathing him with praise. This is a guy
he's literally, I haven't seen Piers bring up the Supreme Court ruling for the presidential immunity thing yet. Yet everybody keep bringing up, you see Joe Biden, he's mentally impaired. He's not fit to be president. Trump doesn't even have any policies. He gets up there and lies about everything that we've already seen and can be proven. And then he says, I'm going to make it better. I'm going to give us so many jobs. There are going to be so many jobs that people won't know what to do because there's so many jobs. I'm going to give Wisconsin $3 billion. And they're going to have $3 billion. Like, stop, bro.
Hosts a Holocaust at his home, quotes Hitler, praises Nazis, calls African countries shithole countries, tells non-white women to go back to the countries they came from, says black people like me more because
Hey, Mehdi came ready to get his shit off, bro. He is like not going. He's like...
Don't misquote me. Don't misquote me. And by the way, if you want to know my views about all the things you've just been saying, they're all there public.
It's not even just about your views. He's literally talking about how you don't bring up the stuff the right needs to address because they let a lot of this shit go and they don't address shit that concerns their side. That's what it's about. It's not about you in particular.
Record. I'm a weekly columnist. I've condemned Trump for many things.
And that's easy, but you don't push the people on the right to condemn that shit. You don't push it. And I've seen, like I said, he did it with Luke Beasley and that CJ guy, because Luke copped to saying that the shooter was in the wrong, and then the guy CJ wouldn't. So he was like, well, I see Luke. Piers didn't know where to go, so he had to start some shit. So because he didn't, I guess maybe he didn't expect Luke to cop to it like Destiny wouldn't. So it's just like he had to get some shit going on his show.
But he is not the new Hitler.
That's easy to
well,
do, but
on,
overall, you're still supporting him for Hitler.
Let me point out a point.
You haven't called for him to stand down from the race. You called for Biden to stand down.
Which he should too, because you're a convicted felon. You're fucking xenophobic. You incited an insurrection. I'm not sure what Pierce's stance is with Trump's involvement with the insurrection, but I think there's valid questions with that. And you like you just said, you're telling Joe to stand down because he's getting old. Meanwhile, Trump is like a fucking criminal that lies. Why is he fit to be president? Why shouldn't he step down? The fucking RNC supports him just out of the sake of wanting to be in control again, even though they don't even rock with him.
But not a convicted criminal who praises Hitler.
Well, we're going to come to Biden where we'll find...
And he quoted Hitler. For you to act like Hitler is such a bad guy, why are you okay with Trump quoting him?
Common ground, I'm sure. But the point I've been making about Trump since the attempted assassination...
It's your double standards that's the problem.
I've only made 2 points about Trump,
I'm sure we have common ground.
I've only made 2 points about Trump since the weekend. One, he showed incredible personal courage in the seconds after he was shot to get back up when he didn't know if there were still other shooters out there. And
I do believe it's courageous, but I think that courage and stupidity can be hand in hand. I think that was stupid. You didn't know what was happening. Like, that was stupid. I think it was brave, but bravery can coincide with stupidity. I think, you always see your hero would be like, I had to save you. She'd be like, oh, you're so stupid, but I love you. That's usually how they go.
And to show such defiance. Okay, you may not think so, but I did, right? Secondly,
I'm saying fair enough. That literally means it's a fair point.
Okay.
Right.
And secondly, the only other point I've made is I genuinely think this is going to propel him back to the White House. It's not I don't have a...
But do you think he should be president? That's just... I truly don't understand how Trump supporters can support somebody that's just been against this country since running. He's not doing anything to bring people together.
That is not the only other point you've made, Piers.
I haven't told anyone to vote for him. Mehdi, you've got to let me finish my sentence.
Not true,
You've got
Piers.
to let me finish my
sentence. Mehdi needs to... I want him to... The thing is, I hate when people cut people off like this, because depending on what he's saying, because he's not saying nothing that he needs to be cut off, and then it's like you can combat him easier if you know everything he says.
Sentences.
You have to. You give him a way to like stop and go somewhere else versus finishing anything he was saying.
You have to, as you would expect on your show, right? I believe he's going to win. I'm not telling people to vote for him. I can't vote for him. I just believe Donald Trump will now be...
And I think the obsession with American politics is pretty weird. I know we're like the best country on earth, but it's just weird. There's people that don't live here and more or less aren't affected by our politics are so invested. It's interesting. It's just really interesting. If I lived in the UK, I don't know how I would be this invested in American politics. Like, I don't even know what like Canadian and UK politics are like whatsoever.
The next president of the United States. Partly because of what happened last weekend, and partly because of the decrepit and ridiculous and embarrassing state of the person he's up against, Joe Biden. So when you say I've been praising Trump for 3 days, no, all I've said is I think he showed great personal courage, and I think he's going to win the election. Those two things, by the way, I think are going to turn out historically to be completely true.
No, come on. That's incomplete. I watched both your shows Monday, Tuesday. People can go watch them. You have acted as if there's two sides to this, that the Democrats are guilty of the same incitement and violence. There's not. I'm sorry. All right, let's play a game.
I've literally just played a bunch of people calling him Hitler for the last...
And that's all he's banked on since even the last one. These people call him Hitler. They're calling him Hitler. And I bet you, he said, let's play a game. I bet you Mehdi got like a bunch of incidents of stuff that happened with people on the right.
Those are not... Sorry. Well, no, you didn't, actually. You played a clip from Willie Geist accurately reporting that Hitler did
No,
good
I played
things.
many people.
Hold on.
I can play a few again if you like.
Hold on. Piers, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, leadership of the Democratic Party. Can you play to me clips of them inciting violence in the same way as Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ron DeSantis, Paul Gosar?
Why are you deflecting?
It's not a deflection. It's not a deflection. Because you want him to say that both sides have copped to it. He completely disagrees because there's no he can't name any incidents of actual political figures on the left inciting violence when there are examples of people on the right that are political figures that have incited violence. Your whole premise is false. It's not a deflection. He didn't act. You want him to say, but it's not true. Piers is probably referring to anybody that aligns with the left and then versus people that align to the right. Where yes, there's an argument that the regular everyday folk like us may have engaged in rhetoric that could incite violence, but that's across both sides. But I think it's a whole nother level of responsibility where political figures are doing it because nobody on the left is, but the people on the right is. That's the difference. Just the same way we say when people bring up police brutality on black people, people be like, oh, well, black people kill each other every day. There's a different standard and expectation that we have from the police than everyday folk. The expectation is different. We're not saying it doesn't matter and it's irrelevant. There's a totally different expectation that I would expect the police to carry themselves than the guy that grew up from across the block that, you know, may have bad values growing up. There's two different levels of expectation.
Because you are deflecting, Piers. I'm not going to sit here and let
you
both sides bullshit
You
tonight.
might be conflating.
This is a Republican Party is a party of violence.
You might be conflating
Piers,
the
I can
two
sit here all
roles.
day with you. Now you're cutting me off. Hold on, now you're cutting me off. Let me answer your question.
I'm reminding you it's actually my show and I do the questions and you answer them. On yours, it's the other way around.
Let me answer the question then.
Right.
Let me answer the question. There are not two sides.
When you say it's not two sides.
Sorry, I had a family to tend to.
But I've played you a bunch of clips of people repeatedly calling him Hitler. I say to you, there's the two sides.
All right, so let me respond. Can I respond?
Yep.
Can I respond? Okay, let me respond. Donald Trump ran for office in 2016 telling protesters rallies to punch people who pay their bills. As president, he played a clip of a guy saying the only good Democrat is a dead Democrat. He said to the Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
Oh, God, Piers, stop. That is not a deflection. You are being dishonest because all you have is, oh, he's the next Hitler. Nobody has incited violence. Trump is gave direct orders of violence versus like, oh, he's the next Hitler. Nobody said like he's killed people. But Trump said, go commit violent acts. Like, I'm okay with violent acts. And you're talking about people saying like, well, Trump is being called the new Hitler. And it's like, is it dramatic? Yes, it's absolutely dramatic. But he's moving toward the direction of a dictator.
Nazis at Charlottesville. Now, let me finish. You're interrupting me, Piers. I need to finish my sentence if you get to finish yours. I'm on your show. I'm a guest.
Because there's no both sides to it.
I'm pointing out that it's not two sides. What Donald Trump has said.
It's not
your viewers need to hear this because you're not telling them this. Trump spent his entire presidency inciting violence against Ilhan Omar, George Soros, multiple members of Congress, people of color. Right? He left office. Right, having incited an insurrection which you condemned, he told them to go fight like hell. He said Mark Milley should be executed, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
What's this got to do with my question?
He mocked Paul Pelosi.
Piers, that just looks bad. Like, you can't say, what does this have to do with my question, as if what he's saying isn't something valid to bring up. You're talking about both sides. There's no both sides. There's no both sides. That's what he's pointing out. That's his point.
Pelosi. I'm getting to it. He mocked Paul Pelosi for being hammered in the head.
He was wrong to do that.
Called for Pelosi to be executed. It's not about whether he was wrong, Piers.
Exactly. And he's missing the point, especially coming from you, because we said already, it's not about you since you're not on the right. The people on the right are acting like this shit didn't happen. Meanwhile, trying to look at the left like, oh, you're calling him Hitler. Like, what?
Of actual violent quotes from Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar. You can't give me those quotes
get back to my
from
question?
Biden, Pelosi,
Piers,
Jeffrey.
you just can't keep saying, like, I get it. You want to keep the show moving in the direction you want to, but this looks terrible. It looks terrible.
No, answer my question. Where did Joe Biden say the only good Republican is a dead Republican?
Mehdi.
But it's not both sides, Piers.
It's not both sides. He can't answer it. It's a presumptive question. You can't answer it.
Piers, the viewers are watching.
Your side has literally spent 8 years calling him Hitler. It's ridiculous to say there's no both sides.
We've already discussed the Hitler point. Where have they incited violence?
Incited? Yeah, I don't think so. I think there's an argument that can be made that maybe calling him Hitler could incite violence, but that compared to actually inciting violence, like saying to do violent things, is totally different.
Go kill people.
You can't keep asking me questions.
Piers, I'm not letting this go. Sorry. General Mark Milley, he called for his execution. Can you point to me to a single Democrat who's called for a Republican execution?
Let me ask you again.
Wait. I won't interrupt you.
Let me ask. No,
I'm waiting, Piers. Point me to a single Democrat.
I think that comes on to the lag between them. It seems like he's talking over him, but not knowing he's talking.
Who's called for an execution?
Respectfully, it's my show. I ask the questions. Now listen, answer me this: if he is the new Hitler, as so many people have been calling him, would there be a moral justification in shooting him?
Of course not. I'm not someone who advocates violence, Piers. The Republicans are, but you never asked them about it because you're supportive of the Republican Party.
You kidding me? He answered your question and continued talking. What are you talking about?
Stick to your side.
You're above the fray. I'm not deflecting. I answered your question.
Right.
I just said I don't support violence. The only people who support violence in American political culture are Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump, Paul Gosar, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Montana, who was convicted for assaulting a journalist. Trump praised him. Paul Pelosi was hammered by a guy who believed in election lie. Trump praised him. I mean, this is insane, Piers. There's one side that is inciting violence, praising violence, mocking violence. You have no problem with them. Instead, you obsess over journalists reporting accurately.
Accurately, that's the problem. Accurately, that he was basically echoing Hitler.
Hitler and praised Hitler.
I read that the President of the United States, only 3 days before Donald Trump was shot, said it's time to put him in the bullseye. If that's not violent language,
come on, Piers. This is bad faith.
This is ridiculous. This looks terrible. And I don't even, this is not even a left and right thing. This looks bad. This looks bad. People have came up here to represent the left, and they've looked bad, too. They've looked bad, too. And this is ridiculous, Piers.
Foolishly apologise for it.
Okay.
You're comparing that to calling for the execution of Mark Milley.
So every time your side uses violent language, they don't mean it. But every time the other side does, they do.
Hold on. Oh, my word. Piers, come on. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump called for their opponents to be executed. Did Biden do that? I'll ask again. You dodged it the first time.
No.
Did Joe Biden do that? And you're obsessed with Hitler.
Yes,
Trump
I'm obsessed with Hitler because you and so many others keep...
He just dodged it. He let it go.
So then why haven't you condemned Trump? So does Trump. Trump called Biden the Gestapo just 2 months ago. Did you condemn him on this show?
Right. Should people... Let me ask you this. Should people...
No. Did you
Hang
condemn
on,
Trump?
Mehdi. I'm asking you a question.
With Hitler. No,
I'm asking you a question.
Sorry, Piers. You made this entire interview about Hitler.
I'm asking
Did you condemn Biden?
I'm asking
Trump for calling Biden the Gestapo?
Should people on the left continue...
Did you condemn Trump?
Mehdi, you didn't ask a question. Should people on the left continue to compare Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler? Yes or no?
Should the right call Biden Hitler?
Stop deflecting, Mehdi.
Gestapo.
Answer the question.
Deflecting. I'm pointing out your biases, Piers.
I'm asking you a question about your side.
Oh, Mike.
I think Pierce's goal is to I want everybody on one side to cop to what they're doing wrong. No, I can't honestly even say that because he doesn't do it to the right. I saw him do it once, that CJ guy. I saw him do it once because Luke copped to it. But he doesn't ever ask the right to cop to anything. And it's I can't even in good faith say oh, Pierce is just trying to make everybody hold their own side accountable. But he doesn't do that. Like I said, he always stacks up the right to the left when he has them go head to head on his show already. And, no matter what, he doesn't ask for the right to cop to anything. And it's starting to make me feel like that he partially agrees with some of this shit. It's why are you should feel just as strongly about everything he's saying is this Hitler shit as if that was a call to actual violence versus these people that have literally gave explicit directions to do violent things.
My side is as long as Trump carries on praising Nazis, I'll point that out. I'm not going to... This show is called Piers Uncensored, but you want to stop me from criticizing Trump because a Republican shot at him?
I don't want to stop you. Why do you say that?
No.
Because you're not addressing what he's saying.
Will you stop comparing him to Hitler?
Yes.
I'm only comparing him to Hitler because he talks like Hitler.
So you are comparing him to Hitler.
Did he talk like him or not? You don't want him to say it? If you don't want him to say it, you should damn sure not want him to do it. You shouldn't want Donald Trump to do it if he can't say it. Which one you think is more important?
12 million people.
Because he's quoting Hitler. No, I'm not.
So you do think he's the new Hitler?
Right, he's I'm not saying he killed 12 million people.
Childish.
So you do think he's Hitler?
No, I think he's... No, I don't. I already said no, Piers. This is very hard to
understand. He's not the new Hitler.
He's not the new Hitler.
If he's not the new Hitler, should people stop calling him Hitler? Yes or no?
he's not the new Hitler, but he's quoting Hitler, so I'm going to say he's quoting Hitler, and you can't censor me from saying that.
Of course
if
I
you
can't.
have a problem
So
with the Hitler
address him
analogies,
quoting him.
hold on, Piers, you do lots of interviews with Trump. Why don't you ask him to stop echoing Hitler instead of asking him softball questions?
Oh, well, actually, I didn't ask softball questions. If you go back and look at them, they were probably the toughest
Did you ask him to
interviews
stop
he
quoting
did.
Hitler?
Sorry?
Did you ask him to stop quoting Hitler?
You seem
Did you ask him to
fascinated
stop
with
quoting
questions
Hitler?
I've asked
You
other
asked
people.
me.
That's insane. He won't even address that. That's insane. This is ridiculous. You can't.
But you yourself don't want to
Because
answer
I
these
worry
questions.
about your double standards, Piers.
What double
I worry about
standards?
What do you mean with double standard? He just pointed it out so explicitly.
I just pointed out to you.
I don't
Ben
have a
Shapiro came on
bias.
your show. You didn't play him a clip. Can I finish? You asked me a question. You don't let me finish. Ben Shapiro came on your show.
You said all
You did not
this.
play a clip of Ben
Well,
Shapiro
you didn't address it.
recording of.
You said
oh,
all
my word.
this.
Can you finish one sentence?
You've done
Shapiro
what
came
Joe
on your show. You
Biden did
not
with
play
Lester
one clip
Holt.
of him calling a fascist.
You've done what Joe
No,
Biden did
I'm
with
much
Lester
more coherent
Holt.
speaker than
Every
Joe
time
Biden.
Lester Holt asked
Actually, I
Biden a question, he deflected.
Actually, I wish
every
Joe
time.
Biden had been more aggressive as I am with you and not put up with bullshit questions about bullseyes.
Listen,
About
and like I
bullseyes.
said,
You and I both
Okay,
agree
like-
Joe Biden should be way more aggressive and coherent.
Well, we're going
So
to come
let's
to
not
Joe
compare me
Biden. We're going to come to Joe Biden in a moment, but just to be crystal clear, you have no problem with people on the left continuing to call Trump Adolf Hitler. Or
If he's going to quote Hitler, they can say that. That's really what it is. Don't say you don't have no problem with it. If the man is quoting Hitler, people can say, like, why the fuck is you quoting Hitler?
compare him to Hitler.
I have no problem with Republicans like J.D. Vance calling Donald Trump Hitler if he talks like Hitler. No, I have no problem with that.
And what about people on the left, like including you?
I mean,
Wait, but you shouldn't want anybody to do it. What? So he's trying to make it seem like it's all about calling out your own side, but he doesn't call out the right for what they do.
Should I not? Okay, Piers, I don't understand this question. If Donald Trump quotes Hitler, should I not say that? Should I censor
I'm just
myself
saying,
on Piers
if you genuinely believe on the left that
you need to be clear with your question.
I'm trying to
Should
ask
I
you.
not? No, I need to know. I need to understand your question. Should I not say to people that Donald Trump just quoted Hitler? Should I say?
No,
should better not say
that's
that.
not
Piers
what I
will say I'm
said.
calling him the new Hitler.
Not what I said. I said.
Then what should I do?
Should people on the left continue to compare Trump to Hitler?
But if he's talking like him and making steps towards being a dictator, why is that such a bad comparison versus the actual things that he's doing? That should be more concerning to you. What are you doing to stop the behavior?
In light of what happened to him last weekend, do you think that is part of the violent rhetoric?
Last weekend is irrelevant, Piers. What's last weekend got to do with Trump's rhetoric? He was shot by a Republican registered voter,
because if people genuinely get
we
told...
don't know the motives.
If people...
You misled your viewers on Monday. You said he got shot because of the consequences of Biden's language. That's false, Piers. You should probably withdraw
I said
that.
it was
heard you say that on
partly to
Monday.
blame...
It's a false statement.
If you read the column properly, you would know that I said that
No,
Biden...
I'm reading what you said on air.
Hang on.
The guy got shot because of the consequences of this kind of language. That's false. We don't know why he was
I said
shot.
that the
FBI have not come
ratcheting
up
up
with a
on
motive.
all sides of violent rhetoric, on all sides, including by Biden,
That's
has
not what you
played
said,
a
Piers.
role in somebody deciding they want to kill Trump. Right?
You don't know
Because
that. You don't know that. He could be a crazy school shooter type. We have no idea why this guy shot at Trump. He was a Trump supporter who shot at Trump. It's very confusing. We don't know why he did that.
But would you understand that if someone is described repeatedly as Adolf Hitler, that some deranged individual might think it's morally justified to then kill the new Hitler? And that's why it's dangerous.
So
and that's why it should stop.
So my colleague John Harwood has it. Okay, so hold on. First of all, it should stop. Donald Trump, not Joe Biden, called his opponent
This
Hitler
is fantastic.
Gestapo
You
2 months
deflect
ago, so
on
maybe
every
stick it on
single
Trump.
question I've asked you.
Because you are so one-sided, Piers, so I have to give some balance
I'm
to the
just
show.
asking, do you think
you had
people
5
to stop calling
Trump-supporting
him
guests on
Hitler?
Monday.
Because obviously it's a ridiculous...
And I've already said to you, when he stops... I promise, Piers, let's do a deal. I promise, if Trump stops quoting and acting like Hitler and quoting Hitler and praising Nazis, I promise never to mention Hitler again. Deal?
So, once again, you actually don't want...
He didn't take the deal. That was so fair. That was completely fair.
To stop calling him Hitler, even though you know it's...
once again, you don't want to engage with the rhetoric. This is like your new Hamas gotcha question. The substance of this, Piers, is that Trump has praised Nazis at Charlottesville, hosted a Nazi for dinner at his house, and quotes from Mein Kampf. You're telling me, the great free speech champion, I should not be allowed to point that out because someone like you will say, I'm calling him Hitler. No, I'm pointing out facts, Piers. If you don't like facts, well, what's the line your friend Ben Shapiro says? Facts don't care about your feelings.
They don't care about feelings at all. It's not about my feelings. It's about, I believe, the language on
Well,
both
it is.
sides.
You're bothered by a comparison,
I think the
but you won't
language on
engage in
both
the
sides
substance
has
of
to
it.
stop.
Right.
I think the left...
Like he's concerned with people saying he's acting like Hitler, but how about we observe the reason people are saying it? I said that in the last video. Like, this could to die on this hill makes absolutely no sense.
Should stop calling him Hitler.
You need to point, and you should point out to where Joe Biden has called for the execution of his opponents. Only one candidate running for president has called for the execution of his opponents. Trump. You have not called that out.
Let's end on a point where I think we may meet some agreement. Joe Biden should not be the Democratic nominee, should he?
No. I don't think Joe Biden should be the Democratic nominee. I don't think Donald Trump should be the Republican nominee. I wish we had two different nominees running for office, one on the Democratic side who was younger and more coherent and more energetic, and one on the Republican side who was less of a criminal and less of an authoritarian.
But you think that Kamala Harris, helped by Nancy Pelosi, is the answer. I would say Pelosi's showing little sign of being any better than Biden in terms of her ability to construct a sentence. And Kamala Harris, I think, would also get completely wiped away by Donald Trump. So to me, it seems to me the Democrats now cannot win. They've dug themselves into a terrible place where they look fractured and disunited. And the Republicans are united and ready to go.
Piers, this is a United States of America, most polarized country of my lifetime. It's very, very tight because people are just partisans. On both sides, they'd vote for a corpse as their candidate. The latest polls show Trump up by 2 points. It's still a ridiculously close race. Obviously, Trump's got the edge. He's got momentum. But you're going to get annoyed at me again. Sorry, Piers, I've got to say this. Again, the bias in your questions. You say Biden can't string a sentence together, nor can Trump. But you never point that out.
Oh, he can.
That's what bothers me.
But that's where you're so wrong.
Oh, he can. Oh, he can, Kenny.
Okay.
Oh, he can, Kenny.
Hey, he ready to. I just saw him reaching for his holster. He can. He can he? Oh, all right. He finna pull out some shit. He like, oh, he can. You can, Kenny. Oh, shit.
Do one thing.
No, let me finish an answer, Piers. Can I have one answer?
Please.
One answer. Trump cannot finish sentences. On Monday, you pointed out that Biden gets people's names wrong. You don't point out that Trump gets even more people's names wrong. Last month, he said he passed a dementia test. He got the name of the doctor wrong. Instead of saying Ronnie Jackson, he said Ronnie Johnson. He's confused Obama and Biden. He confused Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley. He's confused Iraq and Syria. He confused World War II with World War III.
That's crazy to confuse Pelosi and Nikki Haley. That's crazy.
He's confused the leader.
That's a mistake that shouldn't happen.
Of Turkey with the leader of Hungary. He's confused the leader of China with the leader of North Korea. He called Tim Cook Tim Apple, right? And he even got his own running mate's name wrong. He called J.D. Vance J.D. Mandel a couple of years back. So Donald Trump gets way more names wrong. He's way more incoherent. He's way more ignorant.
Which one of you?
Yes,
which one of the two of them? Which one
Trump
of the
is much worse.
Which one of the two of them would you trust to drive you home?
Why the fuck would I care about who drives me home? Somebody that's in a wheelchair probably can't drive me home, but depending on their fucking faculties mentally, I wouldn't mind them running the country. I wouldn't mind a president with one leg if he knew what the fuck he was doing as a president. That's not where I'm gauging this activity on. With Joe Biden's mental decline, I think his administration could hold him down even with that decline versus somebody like Trump that is trying to make this country something it was never supposed to be, nor do we ever even want. And people that are supporting him I don't understand what they see in the future. I don't get what they're looking for. But Joe Biden's mental decline is nowhere near as fucking Trump's mental capacity. I think he still is smarter than Trump and knows and has a better grip on the pulse of the country.
Which one of the two of them would I trust to drive me home? I don't give a damn. That's not the question. Which one of the two of them would I trust to run the country without being a criminal, an autocrat, or an ignoramus? Joe Biden, of course.
Of course. That's where I disagree with you. I don't think Joe Biden can run a bath. And when it comes to driving me home,
and I think they're being dramatic. Joe is clearly mentally declining, but run a bath and he can't run the. Even with his decline, he still has the wherewithal to get up there and spit off statistics that people clearly don't care about as far as what he's done in his term and what he plans to do in the future. While Trump gets up there and says, I am going to bring back this country to be the best country it's ever been since George Washington.
Take somebody,
and you think Donald Trump, the man who thinks...
I take someone who does a face plant on stage, fall off his bike, and everything else that Biden's been doing. You know how bad Biden is.
When have you even seen Trump on a bike?
You know it in your heart.
I do, but I do because unlike you, I'm not a partisan. I can say both of them
You're
have
not
mental
a
health
partisan.
issues. You won't say anything. You won't say anything about Trump. You're ignoring the fact that Trump said we should use
I
nukes to
criticise
stop
Trump all
hurricane.
the time.
That you need not on mental health. In fact, again, just in this show, you've just pointed out.
I was
Biden
about to
fell
tell
off a
you
bike.
what to do.
Trump couldn't walk down a stage. Trump couldn't walk off a stage without someone holding his hand.
Go and get video of the two of them from 10 years ago.
I will.
And play it in a split screen on your show to now.
Oh, no doubt.
Play both
no
of them,
doubt
and you will
Biden
see
has
Trump is
deteriorated.
exactly the same as he was then, and Biden is not. End of story.
That's the best point. That's the best point you've ever made, Piers. You're right. 10 years ago, Biden has deteriorated for 10 years. Trump is the same as 10 years ago, but the difference is Trump was mentally incompetent 10 years ago. He was incoherent and mad 10 years ago when he
What are
ran
you
for
going to
office
do,
and
Mehdi,
said
when he
mad
wins again?
stuff.
What are you going to do when he wins again?
What do you mean, what are you going to do when he wins again? What the fuck you want us to do? What are we supposed to do? If he wins, he fucking wins. What do we do?
I don't know, Piers. I'm hoping that people like you will stand up for free speech and democracy against an authoritarian who wants to fight the press and calls journalists scum.
Actually, the biggest attacker of the press in modern presidential history was Barack Obama, actually, who was extremely
I never defended
draconian.
Barack Obama on that.
Now, when he's talking about deflection, Obama's not even in this race. Obama's not running for president. This would have a little bit more merit if you were talking about Biden. Obama's not running, nor can he run. So what the fuck does Obama have to do with any of this?
And I was interested earlier.
Piers, I never defended.
I was interested
Barack Obama
earlier because you were talking about
and he even just said he don't even defend Obama. So where's Piers going?
How Trump put people in cages and all this kind of thing. Do you know who?
Oh God, they finna talk about how Obama deported more immigrants than anybody ever. Like, what the fuck does this have to do with what we're talking about? Like, Piers is so hell bent on thinking people is not calling out their own party, when I would say that there's a lot of political pundits on the left that will say that they don't approve of a lot of stuff Obama did in retrospect. You know what I'm saying? That's all them that don't approve what Bill Clinton did. This is ridiculous. People still hold the 94 crime bill over Joe Biden's head. So it's just like, who you think you're talking to? That's why he's saying there's not a both sides to this. You don't do this to the people on the right. You just don't.
Deported the most people in American presidential history.
Yes, Barack Obama, and I called him out for
Do you know
time,
who
Piers,
also
if you read
put
my
lots
stuff.
of people in cages?
What is the point of this? Like, he's making this about a left thing when dude don't care about the left. He's just said this double standard shit is bogus.
Families.
He don't care about the left in this conversation.
Hang on, I haven't finished yet. Do you know who dropped the most bombs in a calendar year? Oh, Barack Obama. Do you know who ran
Piers think he cooking? Like, what the fuck?
Illegal drone programs that killed thousands of innocent people? Oh, so, Barack Obama. Do you know who actually campaigned in 08-09 to shut down Guantanamo Bay because as a former lawyer, he knew it was an illegal torture chamber? Oh, it's still open. So I'm afraid, Mehdi, your revisionism.
So this is the problem, Piers.
Revisionism
against evil Donald doesn't quite cut it with me.
This is the problem, Piers. Your question doesn't cut it with me because, number one, I criticize Obama for all those things. Unlike you, I can criticize both sides.
I criticize Trump all the time. You know I do. Why do you lie?
You did it in that question you didn't. In that question you didn't. You just said Barack Obama increased drone strikes attacks. Trump actually escalated drone strikes over Obama. Trump supports Guantanamo. Trump wants to torture more people. And as for deportations, why don't you tell your viewers, one of the reasons we oppose Trump coming back, those of us with any sense, is because he wants to carry out the biggest deportation in history. Eject 11 million people.
Well, the biggest
disgusting racist operation.
Ironically, we've got to leave it there.
11 million people he wants to eject from this country.
Ironically, the biggest deporter in history was Barack Obama, who was a Democrat
What
president.
does that? Obama's not running. Why are you talking about this? It ain't Joe Biden that did it, so why are you bringing up Obama?
Anyway, Mehdi, we've got to leave it there. As always, good to debate with you. I appreciate it, and hopefully get you back on as we get near the election. Thank you. Well, joining me now to discuss...
Oh, man, Piers, that was a fucking L, bro. Like, I'm sorry. I just, if the left or right, that was ridiculous. Piers didn't conduct himself in a favorable manner to himself in this. Like, I don't see how you can just let somebody spit off all those facts to you and you ignore it just to simply make them say, like, does the left participate in violent rhetoric? if we're being honest, not so much. And if you're going to be honest about it at all, nowhere near in the capacity as the right. So to even say, even to grant them that is like, well, if I say yes, are we going to then talk about the right? Because what we do is way less egregious. If Maddie, I wonder if how the conversation would have went if Maddie would have been like, yes, both sides need to, or the left should tone down the violent rhetoric. All right, so since their rhetoric is he's the next Hitler, how about we address the Second Amendment people could do something about Hillary Clinton, making fun of Paul Pelosi's head being hit with a hammer, Dave Rubin wishing death on Ilhan and AOC and them after Aaron Bushnell killed himself, and he said they should do it next. Like, you know what I'm saying? So what are we talking about? Like, let's be honest. There's no left-leaning political figures that have outwardly, actively, and explicitly engaged in violent rhetoric at all. Even if you want to use if I give you Biden's bullseye comment, how about what Trump said, the two-way thing? Or I could punch somebody, or I could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Street or whatever, and nobody will do anything about it. Like, what are we talking about? Stop. That was an L, Piers. Shout out to Mehdi Hassan. Might look into him more if he's that aggressive with other people. But thanks for tuning in. If you made it to this part of the video, make sure you leave a like, comment, sub. If not one, then all three, and I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Peace.